Whether you want to think about them as small as a single cell or as large as a mammoth planet, today we're going to be talking about this. It is the 01Studio cell. And everything to do with this guy is going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe while you're at it, loud them up, baby! And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, The Autobot Family, Transformers versus G.I. Joe versus DC Universe versus Marvel, and all of my social media links. They're all in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. And this is the box, or one side of the box, for the 01Studio cell. And there is a very interesting story here that has unfolded over the last year. I ordered this guy in September of 2019 under a different name by a different company. And there was a lot that went on with changing things around here. And kind of coming up with a whole new character. As you can see from here, like the head is this interesting collar looking piece. The arms have more grayish blue on them than orange. And this is the kind of like semi-changed cell mode, and this is the full cell mode. Yeah, okay, cool. I guess he also comes with an upgrade kit, and I have that as well. But see, here's where things get interesting. A long time ago, I talked about the Zeta Core Star V, third-party representation of Unicron, in comparison to the HasLab Unicron, and I said that the Core Star V was basically 2/3 of what we're getting with the HasLab one for half the price. But that too has even changed because the price changed. The company changed. Is the quality still there? Is it still worth the investment? Well, we're about to find out when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And yes, indeed, here we have the boxes for both 01Studio Cell, or Zeta Unicron if you prefer, or just Unicron, or Zeta Core Star, or Zeta Core Star V. It was a lot of names that went on this guy, and evidently he doesn't turn into a planet, he turns into a cell. Looks like a virus, you know, I mean, it is what it is. And we have the upgrade kit that provides an alternate head and alternate, I don't know, things for his shoulders. Look, I get what was done here. I get that they done everything to make this totally different, totally unique. Man, I get it 100%. Like, there's blue on the outside here. This is what the head looks like. You know, there's not a ring. There's these two mouth things. And we have, apparently, like, all of this is supposed to be indicative of something. I think he's supposed to look like this guy. Like, it's cute. I don't know what it's supposed to be. You'll notice it says 16 plus. I agree. I 100% agree. Armor made. This, it's, you know, it's just, it's the head and the wings. It is what it is, you know? So, taking this out of it, here we have the head of the upgrade kit. It's Unicron's head. Let's be realistic here. I love this sculpt. This is beautiful. We have nice opening mouth, sculpted in teeth, which is cool. We have the green metallic eyes, which I think is so nice. They look like they have so much life. These horns, they can move around and move up and down and stuff. It's really for transformation, but they can move. On the back, you just pop this off. You don't have to use any screws or anything like that. You just pop it off. Two LR44s go in there. When you hit that black button, the eyes light up. If you hit the black button again, the eyes will shut off. If I can find the button there now. Right, so you can see it, and on the top, if you hit that, the whole top of his head lights up. That's really more for when he goes in cell mode than anything else. But this is the head, and I think it's a beautiful head. I think it's a splendid skull. Cell also comes with a bunch of these replacement pieces. Really, it boils down like this: if you don't want his arms to be fully orange, or you don't want part of the planet to be as orange as it is, then you can change them out on his arms with these, or on his shoulders with these. I'm not doing it, but it's an option that you have if you don't want as much orange. The orange is really animation accurate, so I'm personally leaving it, but that's totally up to you. Plus, all of these sprues, all of these had little, I don't know what you call them really, little spires on them, little spikes on them, and they're all basically put in place. There's also a little bag that came with a ton of like screw hole covers. I have those in place. I'll show all that when we get to the guy. Plus he comes with, we have two of these sections, and they fit on very easily. You'll notice a notch out here. It goes around the horns that come out in his cell/planet mode. This pegs on easy. If you're putting it on the shoulder, there's a couple of little adapters that go in right here. I'm not going to be doing that. You will also notice that we have 4 holes in and around the inner edge. So you can lay this down, and he comes also with 2 of these like cone things, and I think that the cones are supposed to really represent when he's speaking. And one could be used, you can put them on his shoulders if you want, but one certainly could be used, see if I can, like this. And his ring can kind of slot in right here. This could be used easily as a display stand, and the other one can actually be placed on him in cell/planet mode as like a speaking accessory apparatus, if you will. And in all of his mighty glory, here is the 01Studio cell. It is undoubtedly a beautiful homage of the Chaos Bringer. Now, a long time ago, I did a kind of a debate with Dennis on one side and GotBot on the other, kind of weighing the pros and cons at the time of the HasLab Unicron and of the Zeta offering, or the Core Star offering, or whatever you want to call them. We all know what this guy is. And at the time, it was very interesting. I personally am not a fan of the HasLab. I don't like the look of it personally. The size is cool, I'll give it the size, but I don't like the look of it personally. It's not for me. And the cost in Canadian dollars definitely wasn't for me. At the time with the exchange rate, that would have cost me about $935 Canadian. Shipping, taxes, import fees, the whole lot would have been almost $1,000. At the time, in September of 2019, this guy, still under the name of Zeta at the time, was $249 US, and with the exchange rate and shipping, I bought this guy for 300 Canadian. So, for me, when I weigh and balance and grade this, keep in mind that I am balancing out a cost and an investment of $935 versus a third of that at $300. But there's a wrinkle that's going to affect my scores for this guy somewhat. After the change was made to 01Studio, the cost for this guy skyrocketed from $249 US to $399 US. If I had to pay that for it, I'm going to tell you now, that is too much for this. It is too much. If you're going to spend $400, then honestly, you might as well spend the extra 170 or whatever it is US and going for the HasLab. You know, at the time, you know, it is what it is. So, like, it does come with a bit of a caveat. Plus, I don't necessarily think they're going for the same collector. I think this is better for a chuggish type of collector, as where the other one is better for more of an MP type of collector. Of course, some people will make the argument that the HasLab one, being the biggest, that's the single factor with him that counts. It's not the single factor with him that counts for me. The guy takes an hour to transform. He is highly inaccurate. Looks good, but highly inaccurate. I wanted and I've said this about many things, I want what I saw on the screen when I was a lad. I'm going to kind of, I guess, give you guys an indication of why I think this guy better matches that than the HasLab one. The HasLab one is a great Unicron, but it's highly, highly stylized. Before we get to that or any of the initial grades, let's see what this guy looks like with a couple of size comparisons. I'll tell you now, if you are wondering how he scales with like Scorponok or Fortress Maximus or any of that stuff, I'm not going to show that because as far as I'm concerned, this nor the HasLab scales with that. Nothing scales with those. It's impossible. For something that's supposed to turn into something as small as a cell or as big as a planet, it will never, ever, ever in a billion years scale. This guy stands at, when you extend his ankles, stands at about, touches on 19 inches. With the ankles not extended, he's about 17.75, about 18 inches. So at his absolute height, giving him every advantage possible, we will say he's 19 inches. So yes, he is shorter, but he's also the heaviest of them all. His mass is quite impressive. For me personally, this is sort of the scale I wanted to go for. So if we compare him to other planets, well, the original kind of Armada Unicron is definitely smaller. It's definitely more Armada-esque. Even with its recolors, it does look more G1, but like you can see the smaller stature, you know, the head doesn't move on it. I looked at that in episode 13. I've loved it for a long time. I've even used it as Unicron in Universal Collision. It's a great Unicron, probably dated, but a great Unicron. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the G1 stickler in me wanted something else, something more. I also wanted him to kind of... I'm saying scale with Primus, and you look here and he doesn't really scale so much with Primus, but I wanted him to be so much bigger than Primus that it seemed like, that Shake was my dog, that it seemed like unsurmountable odds. Unsurmountable odds. Like, there's no way that Primus can beat his big brother. And when you look at this, Primus is so much smaller than Unicron. When they ever do battle again, how is he ever going to muster anything in retaliation against his brother? We'll see how they scale in planet mode later. But this is kind of what I was going for. Like I said, hefty mass, ton of die cast. So far, I'm really happy. Now, let's get into a few of the grades. Okay, so it's time for us to get into some of the scores here. First things first, we're going to talk about his look, his paint apps. I wanted to say 10, I did, but I can't quite say 10, and here's why. Depending on the animation that you look at, depending on the, restoration, the coloration that you look at, arguably, though I think that this is the case, all of this light blue and darker blue should be different shades of gray and silver. Now some might say, no, that's the shades it should be. On his chest and down right here, are the dots supposed to be symmetrical or asymmetrical? That too is a very difficult question to answer. Depends on the animation cell that you look at. Sometimes it's symmetrical. Sometimes it's asymmetrical. By my sensibilities and by my recollection, and in looking at the images that I've looked at from the '86 film, these seem to generally be symmetrical. Though, the ones down here tend to be more asymmetrical than the ones on his chest. So there's an argument to be made for either. The orangish yellow hair, I think, is super accurate. The head is super accurate. These pieces coming off, super accurate. The overall silhouette of the body is super accurate. Right down to having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 abs, not 8. And on the back, he certainly doesn't have a huge backpack. In terms of what I was looking for animation, I'm going to show you guys 3 pictures, and you can decide for yourself. I know where my sensibilities lie. You need to decide where yours lie. So there you go, and looking at that, I think it's safe to say that both of them, for different reasons, are good. I think this guy's better. I think that this guy hits the mark more. This guy to me is, say, a 9.5. I would say the HasLab is probably 7.5, 8. But it has the size, there's no doubt about it. So, that's quite good. Either one is quite good. Before I would have said this was far more accurate for far less cost. However, with the changes that were made, I can honestly now say that if you're like in the market now looking, either one is really expensive, and it really has to go down with what your personal sense of aesthetics is. I'm going to say for this guy, 9.75 for the HasLab, even though I don't have it in hand. With everything I've seen, even though it's gloriously molded, I'm going to say overall that is about a 7.5, maybe an 8. I think this is a little more accurate, personally. What about the articulation for the guy? Well, the articulation is actually quite good. I really like it. We have a head that can go left and right and up and down. Wait one moment, because my dog is here and she's being a nuisance. Pardon me. Okay, so the head goes left, right, up and down. The arms are on pretty heavy ratchets, man. It can go really all the way around. You might still hear my dog, for the record, because she hasn't settled. They can go all the way around if you get them the right way, like down like this. Right? You can also pull this out. That might help you to get, maybe you can't go around all the way. Maybe you can't go around all the way. Good range, all I'm ever gonna need, but can't go around all the way. You can get the arm out pretty far to the side. Even if you leave the hinge up here, it's still, well, about that far. It's honestly, it's about as far as I'm going to need it to. The elbow is double jointed, so it gets super deep. The bicep swivels, the wrist swivels. We have the thumb at a base pin, and then another pin. The fingers all at a base pin, and then pinned at the first knuckle, and then it looks like a hinge at the second knuckle up by the fingers. All individually articulated. So I like that. We have a, get this of it. Oh, by the way, these things here on the side, you can move them out as much as you want. They can angle up. You can even take them all the way out if you're so inclined. There's a heavy, heavy waist. I just popped pieces out, but there's a heavy, heavy waist. You can also, see if, I don't know if I can do it now, but we'll see if I can. Yeah, you can also extend the waist, and it gives the guy a little bit of an ab crunch, which I think is really cool. Right? You can bend back. You can see the hinge in here. You can probably extend it even further than what I got it, to be honest with you. But we'll put that down. Hip skirt on the side can come out. The hip skirt on the front, and on the front, and on the back. And on the back, it can all come out. The legs here are on really heavy ratchets. But again, like, it can go well out to the side. Maybe even a bit further than that. Heavy, heavy ratchets, man. We can go forward. We can go back. We do have, because of transformation, this other weird kind of upper thigh hinge right there. It does help with articulation, but it's a strange one. There's no doubt about it. The upper chest, it can move a little bit separately from the waist. The knees, they can bend to a solid 90 degrees for sure. They rotate. Everything is ratchets too. The ankles can drop down, and there's an ankle tilt. The toes bend there. They bend up here, and what else? They tilt that way. These pieces can move. The heel piece is pretty static for the most part. He stands very well. Like, he stands like a champion. I'm like, boom, he stands great. And he can get in a lot of great poses. I do wish that the hips went out ever so slightly more to the side. I like the ratchets. Some of them arguably a little bit too heavy, but everything is really there that you could want from your Unicron. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything missing. If so, I can't find it. I'm going to say that, again, maybe not absolutely perfect because of some of the range. We're pretty darn close and he's pretty darn stable. I'm going to say that it too is at least a 9.5. So we have a 9.75 and 9.5. He's a really good Unicron. The big issue with him is that he's going to be too small for some people's taste. They're not going to like that. And I get it. I totally get it. But he's scoring really well. All we have left to do now is the transformation. And people have said, it's a bear. I'm going to tell you now, everybody that shows the transformation shows it going from planet back to robot. You want to know why? Because it's easier to do it that way. This is the harder way to go. So of course me, because this is the way the dude comes in a package, this is the way I'm going to go. You'll notice I didn't bother to show you the instructions. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, I don't find the instructions particularly helpful. But two, the instructions don't include these pieces and don't include his head. And I want to do all of that. Expect there to be cuts. I'll explain everything, but expect there to be cuts along the way because some of it is just hard to film, man. It's as simple as that. And there is one thing that I'm going to want to show at a later point. I made a slight mistake, and because I made the mistake, I ended up having actually two stress marks. It's totally my fault. Nothing to do with the plastic, totally my fault. We'll see when we get there. I also did a couple of very slight, and I mean very slight modifications on mine just to make the transformation go a little smoother. So, there is an order of operations here and like an internal logic to the thing. First, you want to really get your torso set up. Once you get your torso set up the way that it has to go, then you will do your legs next. And lastly, you will do your arms. That's basically how this is going to go. It is going to be difficult to film, but I'm going to do the best I can for you. So where do we begin? Well, the first thing to note is that we have these spikes. And there's 3 on the outside of the arm, 3 on the inside, same on the other side. One is out further than the others. It goes in the middle. There's 4 that are angled. They go up on basically I guess the circle part that's on his shoulder, and then there's 4 more. 2 go up here on these shoulders, although they're definitely the loosest ones and like to come off. 2 on the other shoulder. That's all of those. As we put that back on there. There are a bunch of screw hole covers. Most of them go on the inside of this leg, I think, and the outside of this leg, or vice versa. You have a couple that go up and underneath, like up in here, and one on the back. You have a couple that go in the arms. There are the 2 horns that are part of planet mode inside. Those 2 will come out, and there are holes in the horns that go up. Wow, I really stumbled over my words there. And when the horns go up, you put some in the horns as well. For now, close these down, close these down, close these down, close these down. We'll straighten out the arms. We'll also, I was going to say close that down. Close that down, close that down, close that down, close that down. And we'll straighten those up. Grand! Next step will be to get the body set. Okay, so my dog hasn't been making this job very easy for me, but I think we're settled away now. So we put all of these in, like I said. I'm going to be preemptive, and I'm actually going to take these ones off because I'm going to tell you now, when people complain and say, oh, he's so sharp, it's these ones here on the shoulder that they're definitely talking about. So I'm actually going to pop all of those off right now. Also, to make life easy, I'm going to take those off because guess what? You're going to have to take them off anyway in order for them to become the ring later on. So same thing over here. Now, the body. So, getting these kind of out to the side. We can pick this up and pick this up and pick this off and pick this off. Then we're going to turn the body at the waist so that these hip pieces become the front and the back. So we turn it like this, and then you angle in trying to get this arm now out of the way for you. Then you angle in that piece so that it's down, and you do the same on the back. You angle it in and you bring it down. There's two hinges here. You bring it down perfectly nice and flush and straight. Beautiful. Next, with those down, see if I can make sure now that I get this exactly right. We want to open these sections out. Amazingly, there's molded in detail and painted detail in the side. I think that's really special. Honestly, I think that's a very, very nice feature. We can also pick off these chest pieces if we haven't done so already. Whew. Had to stand back and take a break. Okay, so once you have all of these pieces out, things begin to get a little simpler again. So, with the arms up here, we now take the chest, or we should be able to take the chest. Make sure I got all of these kind of up and out of the way, and I should be able to rotate the chest around. So this is the front of the guy. We turned his waist basically to the side, so the side pieces are now the front and back. We have the abs turned so that the front and back abs are now to the left and right, and what was the side of the guy is now the front and back. And we turned the chest piece so that it is in the correct position that it should be in if he was going to be in robot mode. There is, like I said, a lot to line up here. If you line up the lower body, the waist, the abs, and the chest in this fashion, you are definitely helping to set yourself up for success. There's no doubt about it. Then we come to the head section and this piece. But before we do anything with that, I actually want to deal with the remainder of the chest first. A lot of people don't. A lot of people will now just kind of try and deal with the head next. I wouldn't. And you'll see why as we go through here. So we pull out the chest piece and that horn piece. It will come up on an armature over here, an orange armature over here, and becomes part of the side of the head. As well, for now, getting all of this out of the way, we do the same on the back. We should be able to pick it out. Pick out the horn piece. I'll say this, a lot of people complain and say the horn piece is hard to feed through. No, it's not. Not in the least. Again, molded in detail and whatnot in here. Painted up. It's glorious. I'm not going to go in close on it, but you can see it yourself when you get it. They didn't need to do that, but they did. Then comes the hard part. We need to pull the upper part of the chest up from the lower part of the chest. It is supposed to be a slider. It is a bear to do. It's one of the hardest pieces of transformation for this guy. So we get here. I tend to put a couple of fingers. See if I can even show this to you. It's hard. Put that there, and I tend to put two fingers here. By the way, you see these two chest tabs here? These two little whitish chest tabs here? They're extremely, extremely, extremely tight. Extremely tight. There's a little lip on them. I shaved the lip off. It was very simple, very easy to do. I just shaved it back so that it wasn't as tight. There's still a little bit of tolerance there. Don't worry if you shave it back too much and you're like, oh no, it won't lock in. There's so many locking points on this guy that he'll be secure in the end. Don't worry. So, we come here and I should this is going to be a cut because I have to get this up. I'm just going to show you when it's up. Okay, few things to note here. One, we have beautiful molded in and painted detail here, here, and here. Looks gorgeous. It's the insides of the guy. When you extend the upper chest, you'll notice that we have hollow pieces and then a line going across and kind of two more slightly hollow pieces above it. It needs to be up all that way so that when you fold up the legs, they can tab in here and here. Same on the other side. Now, you'll also notice that right here we have a circle and it's filled in with a light gray piece. That is where this whole neck piece attaches. However, it can easily enough pop out, especially during transformation. When that happened to me, I did not realize that I could just pop it back in here. I collapsed the body and thought that this was attached. So Starscream Wife and I both tried with all of our might to put it in there until I realized, oh wait, the body extends. I could just put it back that way. Making the mistake that I did resulted in this. I don't know if you could see it or not, but I have two nasty stress marks right there. Luckily, that's not the only place that this peg is held in because it's quite tight going right across on the two ends anyway. I have no fears about it. If I really did have a fear about it, I would put a dab of Bondic there to hold it in place. I don't, but this was totally 100% preventable and totally 100% my fault. I pull out all of these like teeth. I'm going to pop this back in and then we'll finish the neck piece. Okay, so here we are with what looks like a beautiful disaster at this point. I'm going to pull the arms out just to make life a little easier for us, and trust me, all of this will come together. So, we have these pieces up. We're going to bring out this armature of the neck, open up these pieces, and bring the rest of this around. We're going to do the same on this side. We bring it out, we bring up that piece, and if I can get it, that little piece, and we straighten it down. We will also put those together. Now, to put these together, they slide. You slide this one up slightly higher than this one, and then you slide this one down. So like you don't just peg them in together. This one's up slightly higher and you push it down. Same when you're taking it apart, you'll open these back up, and when you do, you're going to slightly pick this up. It's super easy, but if you don't do it the right way, then you'll be very, very frustrated with it. Let's just put it that way. So, we have that done. Then we have a little slot here and a little slot here and two on this side. That's where the horn piece comes up. There's a little tab here and a little tab here. They slot very nicely. If I can just line it up here. They actually slot very nicely into the position there. There we go. And you can set that horn up. Some of this might be going slightly off screen, but I'll adjust after. This one here, again, we put in there and in right there, and we adjust this up. Boom! That's the top of the guy done. Now, now comes the trickiest part of them all. Those are out to the side, these are out to the side. What's going to happen is we're going to basically get this out and get this out. We're basically going to turn the very lower part of his body here, and these legs are going to come up in between all of this space here. So we're going to take all of this and we're going to, ooh, if I can do it, turn it like this, so that it's all side on. And we're going to end up collapsing the leg, and the leg is going to feed up. It's going to tab in right here with tabs that are on the, I think, back of the leg. Maybe they're down right here on the foot. I can't recall right now, but we'll see as we do it. And here, there's actually peg holes on these, I guess, torso pieces. They will peg into the sides of the leg, or the side of the leg here with these pegs will peg into that and hold it in place. Then we'll start putting these tabs on. So how do we do a leg? Well, for that, I'm actually going to change the camera a little bit, and we'll focus on a leg itself. Okay, I wanted to show you this. This was his heel. You rotate it around so that the inside looks like this. It all tabs together with little tabs up right here. This tab will tab in up right here. But it does require you pushing this in. These white tabs will tab into these white clips in here, but you have to push it all in and tab it together. There's no pretty way to do it. These, you can orient like this and orient like this. And you can see how they're going to come together. It's like a puzzle, man. You can see how this is going to squeeze together. And so this is what you end up with. Down here is tabbed in. Up here is coming up straight. This piece turns around. There's a rectangular tab in there that goes into a slot on the back of the foot and tabs in, and this goes up here. Then here we rotate this around, and we should be able to take this tab and put it into this little slot right here. In doing so, that should leave a little slot here for this tab to go into from the chest, and this comes around and pegs in here, and then these two pieces should be able to, I can't do it now with one hand. Like, that's the problem with showing the transformation for this guy. It makes it look like it's really cumbersome, and it's not as bad as what people say. Even though I just had to fight with this leg, but I don't know what was going on there. Yeah, I can't get it done with one hand. I'm gonna have to do the cod. All of this tabs together very, very easily, very smoothly. This piece down here opens out like this. That opens out, and this opens out. And it too will come up and tab up right there. We'll do that on both sides and have half a planet. And boom! This is what half of, well actually I guess more like a quarter of Unicron looks like. It's honestly not that hard to get here. I'm gonna just do the other side instead of trying to show it to you, but the long story short, again, just to reiterate, is that you have to rotate this hip up. This molded detail is going to be facing inward. You rotate this so that the whole back of the leg will fold down underneath. You sandwich the leg up into these two and between these two, and then you start putting all of these pieces in together. Don't forget that the heel here goes up here. As for the heel itself, I didn't really show this before, so I guess I'll do it now. This comes down, and these two sides split. This piece here needs to come up and around like this, I think. Whereas, no, like this. It comes out and up and around like this. There's a little spot there that a tab from the foot goes into. If I can do it now with one hand, great. That's the thing, you can't really do anything on this guy with one hand. And I'm trying to do it all here with one hand. There, you'll do that, and then over here you'll do the same sort of thing. And tab that in like that. This tab right here is what tabs up into this section up here. Since I can now lay the guy down, I thought I'd try and show a little bit more of it here. We put that in and we bring this out. That piece will come up over. We now have the hip rotated up so that the actual hip joint can go angled up. We rotate at the thigh so that the molded in detail is facing up. We can take this piece off altogether. Take this and you can turn it around, but it's probably going to come undone yet. So I just do it like that for now. We rotate at the knee. We pick these sections off the side and we open these kneecap pieces out, bring them out. I find it helps if you turn them around once you have them out. I mean, I guess do what works for you, but I know what I find helps me. Make sure they're open, make sure that's open. These pieces here, they'll go turned around like this, basically. Make sure you have the ankle collapsed, because if you don't, it's going to be a nuisance. Then you can bring this in, and now comes the moment of truth, when you sandwich all of this up. And you try to get it all in there. Remember that in doing so, what you're looking to do is have it in between these pieces so that they will actually go over these pegs right here. This goes up here. You can't really, I have not been able to get it done with finesse. I really haven't. It takes force going in this direction. It's a lot easier in the other direction. So I'm going to do it, and then we got that much done. Now that he's getting spherical, it's getting a little easier. So this piece now that I can use two hands should come over and tab in right there like that. This flips around and comes up, and we should be able to tab that up and tab this in. Down here, I should be able to make sure that I have it tabbed in down there. We come over on this side, and again we make sure that's up. We straighten this up. We bring this around, turn it so that the little hole right there can slot up underneath right there, and then this tabs in over here. And then we open out this piece, and open out this piece, and the whole thing comes up and over. It should tab in right there if I have this done right. Bring that out, bring this up, rotate it around. And I have to make sure that I got the, it's not quite going in, I'll tell you why, because I got to make sure I got that knee piece poked in out of the way. Now it'll go up and in. And this is the cell mode. It's him with arms, and yeah. So this is what we have so far. All that's left to do now, although this piece here came out, all that's really left to do now is line this up and tab this in. Oh no, it all came out. All that's really left to do now is get the arms in place. I'm just going to clean this up and then we'll work on the arms. Okay, now that I've got everything sort of set up to go, I've pulled the shoulder out all the way that it will come out at the moment. And you should be able to pick this piece up and over the little, I don't even know what you call it there. There's like these little shoulder nubs. It's a bit of a nuisance to pick them up and out over that. Pick this piece off, and we should also now be able to work on getting this piece out. It's a bit there. And can I get this one out? I hope I can get this one out. Usually, there we go. And then this whole piece comes out and rotates around and comes down. This opens out the whole way, and it too comes down. Don't mind that that little pauldron piece fell off. That does like to happen. This piece will notch up into two little notches up here. There's two little sections right here. They'll notch up to little notches right there. Then there's little white pieces here that are supposed to lock in right here. I don't usually bother to do that. And there's orangey tabs on the outside here that slot into orange slots on the side of right here. So these orange tabs go into orange slots right there. These two tabs go up there. And the lower arm. The lower arm, we basically, wrong way. We turn the elbow so that it's facing inward. We open this up and we should be able to lift it out. We take the hand and we face it so that the hand, I guess the back of the hand is facing like outward, and it goes up. Then we make sure all of the fingers are in. We should be able to get this out of the way, rotate this around, and we bring it back down. And when we bring it down, there's a rectangular slot and a rectangular tab right there. They should go together like that. Take this piece and rotate it around. Take this piece and rotate it around. The last two spires are in here. You don't really see them, and same on the other side. Then we're gonna kind of collapse the shoulder, bend the elbow a little bit. There's a peg right here that goes to a peg hole just inside here on the pelvis region, basically. And then we should be able to peg everything together. But it's again, it's a bit hard to collapse it all. We collapse it in. We should be able to collapse this in. And then we're going to start pegging all of this together so that it looks like, and ba-boom, this is what it should look like after you get these tabs in on both sides, these tabs in on both sides, these tabs in up here and up here. The two little, I don't know what you call it, pegs, I guess, that are on the top of the shoulders by rights, slot into two little holes here and here. Honestly, I'm half tempted to just cut those off. They're not needed. It's another locking point, but it's a nuisance to get them in there. So, yeah, I might do that. Needless to say, what's done on this side will also need to be done over here on this side. So, if I'm doing this again, we turn this way, I think. Yeah. And we open that out, and we open that out, and we pick this up, and we turn the hand like this, and put the thumb across, up like that. You see the peg here. You see the, turn this around. You see the peg hole right back here. You bring that down and it pegs on. Take this one and turn it around. Yeah, turn it around and turn it around. Did poke myself. Be careful, because I did poke myself. This here comes off. Again, having this down, it helps to take that up. Then we should be able to open that out. And we should be able to open that out. And holy moly, almost an hour later, I got this done. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I said earlier that the transformation is not as bad as people say, and it's not. It's absolutely not. The transformation for this is easily at 8.5 or 9. It is ingenious, to be honest with you. He basically turns inside out. You do the torso, you do the legs, and then you do the arms. However, for some reason with me today, and I do not blame the engineering, I do not blame this guy, I 100% blame me because I have practiced him several times through this week. But for some reason tonight, in trying to do him in planet mode, the arms would not line up and go in. By rights, normally I can get him into planet mode now in about 15 minutes. I can get him back to robot mode in about 5. It's not as hard as what I made out. Even Starscream Wife said, "You say it's not hard, but I've been listening to you for almost an hour out there grunting and swearing and everything else trying to do the guy." I 100% blame me, not him. It is my fault that this happened. Finally, the very last bloody thing is we stick the things in here and we'll put these back on after. And then these pieces will go down in here and on this side. However, that being said, the way that they hook together is there's a tight tolerance there, and I never ever get it quite together. But I'm going to put them on, and then all of this stands up in the stand so that he'll actually be able to be displayed this proper way. But basically, now he wants to roll on me. But basically, I'm taking these pieces and putting it in right there. And then on this side, I'll do the same thing. In right there. Turn that off for now. And I'm just gonna close this and close this. These will tab together and go, where is it? will tab together and go in there basically. So I'm going to get the ring done and get him on his stand, and then we'll give kind of the final score and final thoughts about the lad. And finally, here we are. This is basically nuts to put together. Look, I said that he was a 9.75 and then a 9.5. The transformation, I tell you what it is. It's a solid 9, but it takes a ton, and I mean a ton of practice. Obviously, even I doing this now after a week of practice, it's not enough. You have a lot of tolerances here. You're going to have to check out your copy to see if you have to shave some stuff down. I might still need to shave some stuff down. But generally, it's not as hard as what I had it made out to be here. You can hit the top of Unicron's head and it lights up there. And if you take this piece and put it on over right there, of course it shines out through. I like this. I think that this is kind of quintessentially Unicron. Here he is, Primus, threatening Cybertron. Yeah, I mean, he's a lot bigger. He's intimidating. And finally, with his Armada self, and is there really any comparison? I mean, one is definitely G1, one is Armada, one is definitely bigger and badder. So that brings me to the last thing, which is my overall thoughts for the guy. Here's the bottom line. For 300 Canadian, yes, he was great. However, for $3.99 US, it's a stretch. If you already went in on the HasLab, there's no need to get this guy too. If you already went in on this guy, then you probably weren't going to the HasLab anyway. They're both good. They're both frustrating in their own way. I don't think either is a bad choice. It all depends on what fits your aesthetic and your collection. And here we are once again, and here he is. I've said a lot, I've shown a lot in this review because I really wanted to leave no stone unturned. There's a lot here to unpack. A long time ago, when I first compared the Zeta offering of their third-party iteration of Unicron to the HasLab crowdfunded version, I said that the Zeta was infinitely better because it had less kibble and it was better priced, and you basically got 2/3 of what you were getting with the HasLab for half the price. But things changed, don't they? And as we all know, the Zeta project ended. This is Cell, as we all know now, 01Studio, different company, you know, different name, different take, like it's a fresh new start. But the price also exponentially went up. I paid 300 Canadian for this. I think when I ordered it was $249 US, and when it became 01Studio Cell, it became $399 US. That's a huge jump. So let's try and kind of compact everything that I've unpacked in this review. In terms of looks, I still think that this is the best iteration of Unicron. I think it absolutely looks the part. Now, there could be some debate over the symmetry and asymmetry of his circles. I always remember the animation being symmetrical, but the argument could be made that you know, certain animation cells are not. So I get that. This guy has the right number of abs. He has the right front and back. There's less kibble. So like all of that I think is good. The articulation is fantastic, and he doesn't need a stand to stand. I don't know if the HasLab one does, but it is what it is. Here's the thing though. When I got this for the price that I got it, yeah, it's absolutely 100% worth it. But when we look at $399 US compared to the $574, I think it was US, for the crowdfunded one, look, here's the thing. If you went in for this guy, you don't need, and you probably were never thinking about going in on the HasLab one. I wasn't. If you have already backed that one, then honestly, you don't need this guy. You just don't. If you already backed that one, you just don't need this guy. Not for $399 US. He's excellent for $249. It's a bit overpriced for $299. The transformation. A lot of people say, it's a bear, it's a monster, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. Look, I know that there are certain things that I fumbled and whatnot over with this trying to film it because it's a brutal transformation to film. And I know that I said there at one point that I was like an hour trying to put in the pegs for specifically these orange sections here, and when I would get them in, then these upper orange sections, which are actually part of his shoulder, These back ones are his forearms. These ones right here are his shoulders. They all like to pop out, and it wasn't lining up for me. I don't blame the engineering. I don't blame this guy. It was just me being a butterfingers, man. I know that at my best, I have managed to get this guy transformed in about 15 minutes to this mode, and to go back to robot mode is even easier. It's definitely the easiest way to go because you're just untabbing a lot of stuff. I can do that one in about 5 minutes. It doesn't take an hour to do this guy. It shouldn't take an hour to do this guy. It may at first, in the first few times. Why? Because this is an example of engineering and a character that you have to practice several times for it to become intuitive, for it to become kind of second nature to do it. It's kind of ingenious, but it definitely requires practice. It's not that it's a bear of a transformation, it just requires a lot of practice. I love that we have the stand to put him in so he can actually be presented this way. I love that we have the light up right there. I think that's great. And his eyes, I think that's fantastic. This is the one that works for my collection. This is the one that works for me. And I got him at a price that works for me. I was never in for the crowd-funded one. It doesn't speak to me in any way, shape, or form. It's not for me. I'll tell you this, from outer ring to outer ring, this guy's about 15 inches. The HasLab one will be 30, apparently. So you can see how big this guy is in my hands. That can let you know just how big the planet mode with its ring is going to be for the crowd-funded one. I don't think there's a bad option, but I don't know if either is exactly an affordable option. Let me know which Unicron is your Unicron of choice. Is it the third-party cell? Is it the HasLab one? Maybe it's the 25th anniversary one. Maybe it's the original Armada one. There's a lot of options. Heck, maybe it's the one that turns into a ship, the little deluxe one, who is kind of charming if I'm perfectly honest. You know, I'd love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time, man. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can always use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button here on YouTube. While you're at it, man, stick around, hit the subscribe button, have some fun with us. Don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single day, man, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.